one of the most important of the free tools that YouTube gives you, and is one that frankly most people don't know about, and those people who do know about it are not aware of the power of it. In the last few months it's had absolutely loads of new, really clever features added, stuff that in other cases you pay frankly hundreds of dollars for and wouldn't be as quick, and you still have to upload videos, and this is just wonderful. It's the YouTube editor, and you'll find it at youtube.com/editor, logically enough. I'll take you through the uses and ways of doing this, but the easiest way is just to show you some ideas of what you can do. And what I've got 3 films here called NY1, NY2 and NY3, and they're 3 films that I've uploaded, and they're about New York, hence the NY. Now you upload these as normal, but what I want to do is to do some editing with these films, and just to give you some ideas of what can be done. So your first stage will be to get your film that you've made and upload it to YouTube as normal, but then you just need to mark it as private so it can't be seen. So you go to youtube.com/editor, and we're in this button here which shows our films. Now I'm going to take this film first, which is, I'm going to drag it down to the timeline here, as you probably know it. These films are silent, incidentally, so we're not going to hear things. This is all operating in the cloud, and just takes a few seconds to play, so we'll just press that again. Don't want to do that. Just refresh that page. Occasionally you'll get that message, so always a good start to give it a few seconds. There we go, so we're going to play that now. And you can see a skyline of New York and the Empire State Building, the Statue of Liberty there, let's get my right statue. And you can see the play line here, and that's just a 15-second piece of footage. Right. What I'm going to do is this little button down the bottom here, is going to make that a little bit bigger. Just make that a bit more. So again, same film, but just spread over a bit more time so we can see as we do it. Got a little scrubber here, as it's called, so we can go back to the beginning, and as you can see we can watch that film from anywhere we want. Bring that back to the beginning. I'm going to show you some of the features now that we can do. I'm going to go to this particular button here, looks like a bow tie. We've got transitions, and we've got a whole series of transitions there that you can use. Now I'm not going to start talking about how to make videos and so on, but obviously don't use lots of transitions. You would tend to only use the one at a time. Going to drop in a second film, just drop it onto the timeline there, and let's go into here now. Yeah, we've got a couple of films there, and I want to show you the things that we can do. This is Times Square. Let me pause that. You can see that one's highlighted and this one's greyed out now, so you get some sort of idea. Let's go back to this one and show you some of the things that we can do with this. If this film was jerky, so you've been bouncing around or whatever, this stabilize video will actually make the film very smooth indeed. So if you're filming from the front of a bicycle or handheld, you can stabilize a video. I should stress at this stage that the preview here is low quality. This is being done in the cloud, so the quality of the preview here is low. The actual finished film is full HD in this case, but just to make things easier, it automatically shows it at a lower standard, so you can see things a good bit easier. So if you've got colour and things problems, it will fix it, lighting and colour. You can auto-fix brightness and contrast, and you can turn the contrast and brightness up and down. One of the things you can do, and it's probably easier to show you on this film, this is quite a static shot just of Times Square and the traffic going along there, going away from us Times Square at night, and let that run. Pretty boring, so I'm going to stop that, bring the play line back to the beginning again. What I'm going to do is do a zoom. This is a pan zoom, and if I press that, that'll just take YouTube a few seconds. Can you see the film is just slowly across the whole length of that? Just zooming, and it gives it a completely different view. So something like that just moving across, very easy to do. Turn that off again, and that'll bring it back to normal. One of the things you can do, you can preview some of these effects, so I'll show you that next. So there's some very quick fixes and things you can do. Let me just go to the filters now. So I'm going to look at this film, as it's a daylight film. Wait for that to come in, and we'll just pause it again. And in here, under filters, got a huge range of filters, things that you can do. So that is quite, it's a dark, quite an older looking film. What I can do is make it HDR. It's not real HDR, so they call it HDR-ish. And you can see the contrast there is boosted enormously. Turn that off. You want a low-mo type effect. And you can see a sort of a dreamy effect there, nighttime, distant thoughts, romantic effect or whatever. You can cross-process. And I'll just show one more of these, which is old-fashioned. And again, it just takes a few seconds to catch up, but it looks like an old film. You can see the flickering there, like a, I don't know, 1920s Laurel and Hardy film or whatever. You can see that effect. Again, I'll turn that off. But you can also combine these. So I'm going to do CinemaScope and HDR, and you can see the ticks there are applied. It goes and does that. And you can't see it very well here, but it's got the black bars top and bottom. If any of these are applied, you get this little magic wand in the corner. It's just under my mouse, so just to the left of my mouse there. And that tells you an effect is applied. And if I turn those off, you can see the little magic wand has disappeared. Click it again, there it appears. So I'm going to turn that off. I want to show you how you can change films considerably. So you've got, for example, this is a great outdoors. You can really brighten up the skies and so on. Makes a very different film. Turn that off. You can make it glamorous. And you can even do something like, perhaps not the best of examples, but a modern pop. This is great for music and so on. Really pops all the colours out. You can pixelate. So you can blur things. This one's quite interesting actually, because you can probably still realise that's the Statue of Liberty under there, so that's quite good. And there's other effects as well. Now you wouldn't normally use these on the whole section of film, but you can do some very clever stuff to make things interesting. So if we come down here, as we put, I'll just stop that running. So we put our mouse over this, you can see some scissors. So what I'm going to do is click the scissors, and I'm just going to split that film there just by clicking my mouse. And you can see now there's now two parts. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this part, and I'm going to apply a filter to that, and I'm going to make that just that one. Okay, so if we come back to the beginning of the film now, but even though you split the film, of course, it's still the same film continuing, so you see that now changes to a completely different effect. And I'm going to take my scissors again, I'm going to cut there, and then on this one you can see the magic wand is applied, so you can select that film, go into my filters, and then I can turn that off. So the processing isn't done until the film is totally rendered out. So just stop that, and again if I come back to the beginning now, you can see the different effects there, and it pops to that, and then we come back to the original, and as it goes on it will now transition to the street scene of Times Square. So I'm going to pause that, come back to the beginning. Let's see how we can make that better. Let's go to transitions. I like a simple crossfade, so I'm going to drop a crossfade in there, and I'm going to drop another crossfade into there. And again, these are just examples, you need to see how it goes. But just watch how clever that is. Isn't that beautiful? And out it comes again. And then there's a jump there, a jump cut as we call it, to the next film. So click there, I want to put another transition in here. Click at the beginning, and let's just do something silly, but I'll drop a star effect in there. Move my timeline along a bit so you can see. Oops. Just going to take a few seconds, and you can see that effect. All right. Don't overdo transitions and effects and things, obviously, but that just gives you an idea of what you can do. All right. You've got various other ways of moving things around here and so on. This is very important that you understand this, and I need to show you this, and you need to perhaps make a note of that. If you click this button here, which is a musical note, you actually get a fair choice of music. There's loads actually, and you can search here by genre. So if I want country music in the background of that, you can do so. Now I've turned the sound off. This original footage has no audio. It's just raw street scenes of New York. But you can very easily add that piece of music down there, and it will play it and it will cut it off at the end. Very, very important that you understand this. You can do that and you can have that music playing. If you do that, you cannot monetize the film that you've made with AdSense. If you're making a film for yourself or your clients, so you're not bothered, fine. But if you use that music, you cannot monetize it with AdSense. So be very careful in doing that. So I'm just going to press my delete button and get rid of that, and we're back where we are. So you can use the music from here. I'll show you in a later lecture in the course how to add music at a different stage. But at this stage, if you use the music, you can't actually you can't monetize it. Okay, so let's look at some titling. Let's look at having a title at the beginning. So just drag a centered title to the beginning there. And there's my titled text. So I want to call this film New York. I will do if I want to type York correctly. There we go. Now the background colour is not very nice, so let's have it as a nice yellow colour. Let's make that text much larger. Can you see that YouTube is updating that in real time for us? Okay. Let's make the text bold. And let's make the text blue. I'm not suggesting again they use these colours, but you can see them updating that in real time. That's terrific. So we've got a nice title there. We can use that. Come back here. Now we need to transition. Let's just put a cross blur in there rather than the jump. And I'll play that now. And you can see you've got a nice title coming up and a cross blur. Now that title doesn't last very long. As you can see, it's 0.02 of a second, but grab this handle here and you've got what's known as a ripple. If I drag that out, let's say we want that at, I don't know, 7 seconds is very long, but let's do that. I don't know if you see, but everything else moves along, and now that title, if we play that, let's go back to the beginning, we've got a 7-second title there, near 8 seconds actually. You've then got the transition, nice soft transition there, and the next transition, and so on. So there's lots of things you can do there. Let's go to the titling again. So we'll select this particular film this time, and I want to go to text. And what I want this time is enable text, and I'm just going to type in here Times Square. Let's make it Times Square by night. So you must click enable text. The one bit that I often forget is clicking that. And you can see that's put a little effect at the bottom there. We can have, we put that at the bottom, we can put it at the top. And if you can see there, there's a little bit of a grayscale there from black to white, just makes it stand out a little bit better. We can change the colour of that background. Again, you can see the difference there. I'm going to put that back to the bottom, but you can have it in the centre as well if you wish. And again, as a titling, that's probably a better title as an intro than what I did earlier. But let's just put it down the bottom for the moment to show you. We can make the text bold and italics. And you can see we're starting to run out of space there. Now that's fine. We can change the colour of the text. Let's make that a yellow. Again, just showing you what can be done. And we need to perhaps centre that to make it a little bit nicer. Now you can see here, you can see through that background, and depending on the background, this is a nighttime scene, so it's quite dark. But you can actually turn that right down, so the opacity is much lower and it's completely transparent. Now that works well, but if you had a background with lots of yellow in this case, for example, that wouldn't show up. And we can actually kill the whole of the background here, so you can't actually see it. And again, in this particular clip, that doesn't work so well. So the original 50%. Is quite nice. And again, remember this font looks very, very blurry and so on. This is purely a preview. The end result will be in 1080p if that's what your footage is in. We can change the height of that banner if you want to put some extra lines in. I'll just show you there. And then we should be able to do that if we wanted to do so. And again, sometimes with too many fonts, too many words, you might want to change the font size. I suspect large might not fit there now. Yes, it does actually, that works quite well, and that actually then going to centre. Let's give that a second. Works rather well, and that might make a nice opening for the film or whatever. Right. So nice and easy to do, lots of options and things there. We'll leave that as it is at the moment. What I want to do next, just some of the things you can do. So what I meant to show you was you have a whole series of fonts that come up here as well. So let's use a silly one. Again, this has all been done in the cloud very quickly there, and that's actually quite a nice font for New York by night. But there we need to perhaps darken that banner up a little bit in the background, and you can see that just stands out a little bit better, and maybe shorten it and so on. So you can have a mess about with that, but from some raw footage that you've got, you can actually make a very elegant film very quickly and very easily. There's just so much that you can do with it. The other thing I want to show you while you're in here, and this is something that people don't realise, is that if I just pause that for a second and press the right pause button. So here's your original footage. You can add photos. If you've got a lot of photos, and it'll turn them into a slideshow. It'll do that automatically. You've got a lot more transitions that I didn't show you. Again, don't overuse those. And in the titles, you've got a centered fade, one that slides in, one that zooms in from the background, and so on. So again, some more options there. But I want to show you this button. This is CC. This is Creative Commons videos. Now, YouTube takes care of all the licensing for this, as long as you stay within the YouTube editor. But we know there's in excess of 5 million films in here of all sorts of subjects. So I'm going to go to that, and you can see there's some beautiful footage here. What we're going to search for is New York City, and just hit the return or the here. And we've got some great footage here of New York. Now I can see that one is a Chinese New Year. I'm going to drop that just on the end. You can drop it anywhere you want, but I'll just drop it on the end so you can see it. Let's just preview that. It just takes a few seconds. Now this footage is totally free to use. As long as you comply with the license, which is basically you let YouTube deal with it in the YouTube editor. All the attributions and so on, YouTube take care of automatically. So there's some footage, probably with sound in fairness, taking you around Chinatown. I'm going to pause that for a second, but you can see we've got 1 minute 50. There's millions of films in there, and again you can stabilize it, auto fix it, change the brightness, title and so on. So you're going to slide this along a little bit and you can see the footage there. And again, if I go to that, let's come back to the beginning again, my little want to cut that, let's say there, obviously you do that big, split the clip there. I can now get rid of, so that was one long film, I've cut it there with the scissors. I can now delete that, and again if I just scribble along you can see that now that film starts there. Stop that playing, sorry, let's scroll along a little bit. Much easier to do than to show. You can see there that that film actually starts there. We've cut some off, and the other way of doing that is go along to the end of the film. We don't want all that, so we can select the film, and at the end we can cut off where we want. As I move that, you'll see the blue bar in the actual movie shorten. So I'm going to get rid of, let's say, all that. I'm not editing it properly, just trying to show you there. And then we've got a film now that is 1 minute 10. We've got lots of footage of New York. Needs a bit more work, but you can get some idea of what can be done. Just press the little close button there. I want to drop another cross transition into there, and again I'll just do a crossfade onto there. That's the film ready. So we've got a film there that's made up of some titles, a transition coming up now, some footage. You've got an idea there of a sepia look. You've then got another view. You've got out to Times Square by night. I think that needs to go at the beginning, but you get the idea. Another transition, and then you could do another title or overlay on this one of Chinatown. You can see the cross blur there, taking one film from another. And we've got some footage of Chinatown. Right. Just going to stop that because what I'd like to do at the end of this, and I'll just bring that down a little bit so you can see it all in the viewer there. What I need to do is to fade that out at the end, so a colour fade. So when that comes to the end now, the colour will fade, and it's a nice easy end to the film. Let's just drag that along a few seconds, and you should be able to see that. Drag a little bit more. All doing in real time, pretty much real time. And you'll see that now just fade, in this case fade to white, so you got a colour fade there. So in a couple of minutes there, from scratch with some footage of my own and a bit of Creative Commons videos, I've made a film there. So I'm going to save that now, and we're going to call it Test 1 just to show you. And all you need to do is to press the Publish button. You often get an error message comes up when you do that. Fortunately that's not happened this time, as you saw that at the beginning of the film. And then you get this, here's the film about to be processed. And I'll stop the film there and we'll come back when that's processed, which will take a few minutes for them to do that.